Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vicarage Road. The team news is out, and it is one change for Norwich City, and a very interesting one at that. We'll bring it to you now. Norwich City lineup: Kovacevic in goal, Fisher, McConville, Darling, and it's Tony Springett at left back. A midfield two of Maatsen and McLean, with Forson, Marcondes, and Schwartau behind Josh Sargent, who enjoys very much playing at Vicarage Road. So that team is the one that's scrolling below. So that's Tony Springett in at left back for Norwich City. The subs bench: Grimshaw, Adalusi, Medic, Wright, Slimani, Jurasek, Makama, Chris Goran, and Errol Mundell-Smith. Paddy, I think there's been a lot of debate as to what the fullback situation. Obviously, Philippe Clement confirmed yesterday being out injured. I think we probably expected Clement to and he said yesterday he'd have to be creative, and I think Callum Fisher's the only fit one, so we're intrigued to see what it would look like. And it's Tony Springett who gets to start at left back. His first in
well, I'm trying to think.
A long period of time.
When was his first? When was his
you
last
speak
start?
And I'll have a look.
Yeah, okay, excellent. I'll hold the mic.
You hold the mic.
Yeah. Well, sadly, I thought we'd be able to get the Christmas tree in the background. Go on, lift it up. That's far more exciting and interesting than looking at
It's just the balance I'm worried about, but I can balance it on.
No, that's all right. Now everybody's seen there's a Christmas tree. We can crack on. But yeah, we'll need to find it out because we don't do research for this or anything. But Tony Springett is a big call. But then you look at the limited options. Shane Duffy's not in that mix, is he? Is he on the bench, Connor?
Sorry, let me have a look.
I don't think he is he?
Not,
no. So clearly
the bench: Grimshaw, Adalusi, Medic, Wright, Slimani, Jurasek, Makama, Chris Goran, and Mundell-Smith.
So the fact there's no Duffy on there, that clearly has to be fitness related. You would expect. We'll clarify that in this very room with Philippe Clement after the game. But in terms of equations and availability of options, if there's no Duffy, and obviously there's no Stacey and there's no Cordoba, for me it's Medic.
So,
go on, mate.
His last start, I believe, was April 2023 in a 2-1 defeat to Swansea, from
April
what I can
23.
see. Yes. Yeah.
So that's 2.5 years.
Yeah.
2.5 years.
Yeah. And his last appearance was as a sub against Ipswich in, what would that be, December 23?
Yeah.
So that's his last appearance.
Wow.
So first start since in 2.5 years. You saved Tony Springett.
And I don't think we've seen him in any of those, albeit limited first team appearances. Have we seen him starting as a left back? I'm pretty sure we probably haven't. I mean, I remember when Dean Smith first gave him a go, was at Leicester in that Premier League game, and that was more of an advanced option. Funnily enough, now I think about it, I think he played here. David Wagner tried him here, or he brought him on in one game. But again, it was more in a midfield position. And he talked quite glowingly about him after that game, as I recall. But left back Tony Springett is not a version we've seen. 10 championship games in total. 11, sorry, yeah. Last one.
For the last two and a bit seasons.
And we know why, because he's had this obviously prolonged back injury. It's a big call, but going back to what I was just saying, without Medic is the only one you would think who would now come into this equation. And if it's not going to be Medic and he's made that call that he wants to keep McConville alongside Harry Darling, and that probably flows into this side there. He's talked about a structure and a familiarity while he's trying to build out, and that applies equally to McLean and Maatsen again in the middle of the park. So you wanted to keep his central defence as was, then that is limited options. And it is a big call. Yeah, absolutely. But, he will have seen enough of him now in training over this 2-3 week period to believe that, we'll give Tony Springett the trust to go there. And what an opportunity for that guy. I mean, dear me, horrendous injury hit 2 or 3 years. I don't think too many saw him as part of the future here, if we're being honest, moving forward. But he's got an opportunity today. And maybe a little bit like with Mundell-Smith, he probably wouldn't have got that opportunity if all those players had been fit and available. But no matter, see what you can do today. And who knows, it'd be a great story if after the game today we're saying, well, actually, Tony Springett is a viable option as a left-sided defender. But that's a hell of a show of faith from this new head coach in a very young player who has played precious little football. But today, in a back line that, again, slightly shuffles around a little bit, let's see what you can do. But, yeah, there's no doubt. That is, I can see from the tone of the comments. I don't know if you're putting a few through, Comment. There's plenty who will need convincing that is the right call. But you take him out of the equation.
To be fair.
Yeah, okay. Well, no, fair play. Yeah, I admire that optimism. He's had a good Friday night, I think, and he's maybe just coming round from a good Friday night. But yeah, there's one or two other less effusive ones, or should I say, I'm seeing in the comments. But go back to what I said. Bar Medic coming in, he really is in a very limited pool of talent that you could switch round. And to me, it just underlines the degree of difficulty here today. I know he hasn't talked about using injuries as excuses, and he's looked at the controllables and what effectively the hand he's got to play. But the reality is, if Tony Springett's having to be called up as a left back, it gives you an indication of how limited the resources are in defensive areas. So for me, to get a result today in that context will be a very good result.
Yes, agreed. Lots of interesting comments coming through, and now you can see the Norwich City team in full there, including the subs and even the bench pad. I mean, Slimani coming back is a boost, but again hasn't played, I don't think, a minute of Championship football so far this season. Adelusi's on there. Errol Mundle-Smith is on there. That shows the extent of where Philippe Clement is at with, I think, double figures. If you add Jack Stacey, and obviously we'll await what the news is on Shane Duffy, but I think that would take it to 10, 11 maybe. Now Slimani's back. That would be Stacey. Yeah, so I think it's 11 injuries in total. No left backs. I mean, this is just where Norwich City are at and the hand that he's having to be dealt with. And I think, as he said yesterday, he is determined to look at it as an opportunity for other players rather than maybe focusing on the problems that exist within that squad.
Funnily enough, just put that one through there about young Ozcan, Vatan Ozcan, who's is he a Turkish youth international?
Yes. Yeah.
But he's an established fullback in terms of that's his position in the academy setup. Went on pre-season. Liam Manning gave him some opportunities, and I think he actually, now I think about it, I think he singled him out as one of those who'd impressed. Yeah. So exactly, yeah. But going back to Ozcan, the reason I've got that one to punch through is, we spoke to one or two club officials during the week when we were musing on what way he might go, and the sense we were getting that might be too big a call to throw him in the deep end. Yet you could argue that's where Tony Springett finds himself this afternoon. But I guess Tony Springett is deemed to be more of a first-team squad option than young Ozcan for now. But and of course, Ben Creseni, it was just popped into my head. He told you yesterday that he'd only really trained properly yesterday. Too early to him to be considered. But hopefully now, moving past today, they go to Sheffield United in midweek coming. And then Southampton at Vicarage Road. And he also seemed to tease that there might be two or three others who come back in from that 10 or 11 at the start of training for next week. So maybe this is just one of these games today that's going to have to be a very, very bridging operation to hopefully more defensive fullback options moving forward into next week.
I mean, the one thing that Springett does give you there is left-footedness and balance, and that has been an issue, hasn't it, in terms of, be it Fisher, who has been playing out of position. It's going to be good to see him back at right back today. And I think the kind of issue that I had with it is, well, if you shuffle McConville across then, and Sam made this point on the way up, you kind of lose a bit of attacking edge and athleticism down that side. You always come to Watford knowing they have pace and physicality and athleticism. That probably feels like a better balance of back four. Whether it's a better ability and better quality of back four probably remains to be seen. But like you say, what an opportunity for all of those players at the moment, and not least, and probably extend that to those on the bench as well. And this is a good point as well on that Tony Springett has Championship experience. I think 18 games at Championship level for Norwich City, which if you want to sort of broaden it out, I think Mahovo's got 11, I think, so there's more experience there.
I'll tell you what, also, just to interject there, Connor, it places a very big onus on Oscar Squartau in front of him. We assume he'll be on that left-hand side because that's where he's operated recently.
And I think both give you legs, don't they? Both are willing runners.
That's what I'm saying. He in terms of appetite for work out of possession, that he's shown plenty of that. And I'm sure the onus, albeit two very young players, but I don't think my feeling would be that Tony Springett's going to get isolated against a pacey attacking right-sided option for Watford. I think Squartau will know very much he's got to do a lot of work, maybe going back the way to try and offer a little bit of protection. And of course, Matson and McLean in that middle ground, there's an onus on probably McLean as the left footer. Although Matson operated there, didn't he, last weekend on the left-hand side? So one of those two holders, I'm sure Clement will have been into those and said, look, you can see on the left-hand side, we've got some very young options. They will need to add a little bit of ballast as well, and a bit of insurance, because, as you say, It is. There's no way you can slice it up. It is a big call to put Tony Springett in today, given his limited lack of football, given that he hasn't played as a left-sided defensive option in the Championship in his career. But around him, Harry Darling comes into that equation as well. I'm sure he will need to, probably be mindful of that left flank, and it's almost, can you mask maybe some of these areas of this lineup today, which are very young, very raw, very inexperienced. And if they can do that, then hopefully, and I guess you look at it, it is only the one change from last week's 11 against QPR. So the selection, and I'm sure they'll be looking at consistency in terms of on the ball and what they did in a sense. I like it.
So it's Watson, Pollock and Bowler as their back four. Hopefully you're still with us. Chak Fatadze, who's back, has been sort of ramping up his minutes in recent weeks. He starts today. Lusa, who's been very good this season for Watford. Kayembe and Miyama as their midfield four, with Kajumgard and Dumbia up front. Their subs bench: Marriott, Aliye, Kipriano, Ince, Sissoko, Semedo, Morris, Mendy, and Abankwa. So that's how they line up. And Paddy, I mean, this is a start of what is a really testing week for Norwich, because Watford, I think, have been beaten here once this season, although Norwich have won here in the League Cup. That was against Blackburn in September. So they've done pretty well here. Then, of course, it's the trip to Sheffield United in a week. Back. No, yeah, I think we're back. Sorry, the internet connection here already proving not to be the best, which is a good omen for the rest of the afternoon. But it's a big week for, I was just saying, it's a big week for Norwich, and this is the first of a test, I guess, of their progress under Philippe Clement, with, as we've sort of outlined already in the opening 12 minutes here, a pretty stretched squad.
Yes, and I don't think it's because I don't think anything he says in terms of media setting is off the cuff. I think he knows the messages he wants to get out there. And you go back through the last 3 or 4 of the pre- and post-match press conferences, and he talked yesterday about this isn't going to be linear progress. It's not going to be smooth, plain sailing from here. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be days when it doesn't work. And that, to me, is him almost messaging out for media, for more importantly, fan base, that I think in this phase, underlined by, as you say there, you got Watford, you got a resurgent Sheffield United under Wilder, and then Southampton likewise in a post-Will Still world. They've started to pick up results. They look like difficult fixtures. So it could be a bumpy week, particularly with these injury issues that they're managing as well and trying to navigate. So I think he's under no illusions that as good as it felt, Oxford and QPR, this week could be a bit of a recalibration. We might have to go through a little bit of pain to come out the other side. And, they're still more than capable of picking up results in these next 3. But it wouldn't surprise me if you get the other side of this week and maybe that there's a bit of realism set in around the scale of the task still, that it isn't going to be plain sailing into mid-table and beyond under this guy. Longer term, I don't have any doubts that's where they will end up this season. But in the here and now, I think you have to be realistic and say type of injury issues with the selection challenges. Yeah.
Just to interject, there's plenty of Elton in here. I don't know if you can see there's 4 pictures on the wall.
One over there.
All of Elton John. So
for me, I think that is reality. Let's understand where this Norwich collective are under Clement, new head coach, new group of players. There's been a positive uplift and a positive response. But as we all know, the Championship is a very unforgiving league, and this is a tough swing of fixtures to navigate. And let's see where we are. I think we'll have a better idea, maybe the acceleration in terms of the progress we can expect the other side of Christmas after this next 3 games for me.
Just one back on the team before we maybe come on to how we see the game going. Jovan Makama back on the bench. Are you a bit surprised he hasn't been thrown in, or do you feel Forson obviously scored last week, but generally kind of was in and out of the game a little bit? Are you a little bit surprised he hasn't come in here, or do you think there probably is with a view of protecting what is that back four, which is very young and also for the reasons we've discussed, a little bit makeshift at the moment?
Yeah, there's probably a lot of elements to that. I mean, he more or less said last weekend that Makama would have started off the back of what he did against Oxford, and it was only because he obviously reported to the ground and clearly had the sickness bug and felt a bit under the weather. that opened the door. Forson's walked through the door, and probably did merit to retain his place. But I also think, I think it's pretty clear Makama as a project is still, building him up. He looks like you see him now taking the on board almost at the start of the second half. Most of these games, it's still a young man who was playing League Two football who's having to develop that robustness and the physicality required at the higher level. And so for me, maybe part of that call today is, does he feel Sheffield United and maybe Southampton at home are better opportunities where Makama can have an impact over this next 3-game cycle?
And the one thing I would say, if you can keep it relatively stable here for the opening 60 minutes, you look at that bench, there are options. Makama, Jurasek, Chris Gore and Jacob Wright 10 last week. There are options to introduce into this game. Slimani, of course, who clearly isn't where they'd like him to be fitness-wise as of yet and is just coming back. There are elements on that bench that could change this game and convert this game a little bit later on if it's still in the balance, if Norwich is still in a position where they can extract points.
Well, absolutely, yeah. And, that you reel them off there. There are genuine game-changing creative types on that bench. And if this game on the hour mark is in the balance, then, it's a great position for Philippe Clement to be in, really. And you're going to need that because I think the reality is, as we've seen most weeks in the Championship, a lot of these games only tend to get decided in terms of that final quarter, and especially with somebody like Chris Gordon as well, who must be desperate now every opportunity he gets. Again, Clement was very clear that at this stage of what he's trying to build, him and Sargent together as a pair empties midfield to a degree and doesn't really work in terms of the overall balance of the side. That's very logical, and I'm sure Chris Gordon will take that on board, but still, it's him who's missing out. So any opportunity he's going to get from today onwards, in terms to make an impact, then he needs to grab it, because at the moment, in the mind of Clement, it's Sargent and attacking players around him, and that doesn't include from starter games, clearly, Matthias Chris Gordon.
Yeah, one factor is I think Josh Sargent has scored something like 29% of his away goals for Norwich City here, which or of all of his goals here, so to speak. He scored a goal against Watford. I think he scored 6 and 7 here, or 7 and 6 here, or whatever way that's. I don't have it to hand, but he's been pretty prolific here. Obviously scored in the League Cup game, scored here last season as well. Got that.
Sorry, Connor. Adam's asking. I mean, the team news is there, but Adam's just asking who's left back. So he's obviously joined us a bit late. Tony Springer.
Springer is at left back. Good afternoon to you, or good morning, Peter. You're wishing your life away a little bit. That lunchtime kickoff does that to us all. So that's another factor to put into this game. Watford, of course, coming off the back of a defeat to Birmingham on Monday night, which, as we can attest for from a yellow and green persuasion, not the easiest fixture to have, as Norwich have proven in recent weeks. How do you see this going today, Paddy? Because I think clearly, and Clement has made this pretty clear, it's about consistency and it's about incremental progress. But there are going to be some challenges. We've mapped out what the week looks like. How do you feel it going today here at Vicarage Road?
I can see that. I can see on the fact that they are on this upward curve now, and you got the sense from Clement's presser yesterday. They've had a good training week. He's been very happy with the response, the continued buy-in from staff and players. Yes, okay, they're navigating a few more fitness-related issues in terms of team selection, but as good as Watford are here at home, I'd still fancy Norwich to get something. I'm going to go draw, Connor. Score draw, 1-1, 2-2. You?
Yeah, I'm sort of at a draw, I think. So yeah, I'll go 1-1 tight, and probably not the most entertaining game in the world is where my head is at, with Sargent to scoring to keep that Vicarage Road record going on to it. And as Nick mentions, and this is a good opportunity to plug it, and Nick's going to be there, and you can be as well. The Pink and Live event next Saturday after the Southampton game. Paddy, tell us about that.
Absolutely, yeah. Pink and social channels, it's all pinned on there. There's a story on the website now. We're putting in the newsletter. It's on the YouTube bios, all the videos. But essentially,
basically, if you go anywhere Pink, and you will find it.
Oh, you can't miss it, yeah. And what that is effectively what we do in a dungeon. We're going to do in front of a live audience. So the live audience will make it exponentially a better product. But we need a live audience. So it's basically 3:30 waterfront on King Street. So if you're at the game, bearing in mind it's a lunchtime kickoff week Saturday, Southampton. Maybe go and do a bit of Christmas shopping after the final whistle, reflect on another 3 points for Philippe Clement and Norwich, and then come down the waterfront. And 4:30 onwards, we'll have an hour's chinwag around Norwich, and it'll be good to tap into all that positivity. We'd love to see you there.
Yes, sounds good. Please do. Hopefully the Wi-Fi is held up and you've been able to see us and hear us all. Just to kind of paint the picture of where we are. That's the press conference room. If the light sorts itself out, that is where Philippe Clement will be sitting later, hopefully reflecting on another 3 points. Pinkin.com, of course, is the place to go throughout the morning stroke afternoon for all of your analysis and reaction to this game. And a big day generally, I think, around the bottom of the Championship. Some interesting games down there. Oxford and Swansea playing each other this afternoon. Portsmouth away at Charlton. So yeah, maybe some opportunity for Norwich to make up some ground this afternoon if they can get a positive result here. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you again very soon.